We have a group starting there. We also had a group that just left Ghana yesterday, so that's the other part of it. So we have a lot going on. Then I'm going to hop over to Brazil. Then going to be back in Ghana. We have Senegal coming up. We'll be with the B1 family coming up in July. So looking forward to that. So yeah, it's a lot going on, but it's very rewarding and I get to meet some of the most fascinating people. And that's the thing. Because someone asked me, "Well, Jay, do you get tired or do you get bored or anything like that?" Sometimes the travel you jet lag because I'm 3 hours ahead of where I was yesterday, which is 4 hours ahead of what I'm used to. But I get to meet fascinating people, and the people make it worth it. And no trip is the same because you meet unique people with unique perspectives, and that's just another part of the deposit that happens in my life, and then the deposit that I'm able to exchange with them. So yeah, so that's what's going on, Dr. Boyce, and we're looking forward to this experience in Ethiopia kicking off today.
Wow, man, that's amazing. Um, and I was asking you about this just a few minutes ago because it kind of came to mind. I almost get a sense that like since the election, there's been a lot of people who are exploring living in other places or at least visiting other places. And and you always hear, but it's interesting because every election, it seems like you hear a lot of people saying, if so and so wins, I'm leaving the country, right? And so have you noticed just sort of a change in attitude about international travel since Trump got elected?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As soon as it happened, as soon as he was elected, before the inauguration, the conversation changed and people were saying, listen, I need to understand what some my options, where I need to go someplace else because I don't want to be in the environment. They love the US, they love the people, they love the culture, but they just could not tolerate the political atmosphere that they could see coming. So where they were typically not thinking about relocating or taking their business elsewhere, they started exploring. And so I've seen it from everywhere, of course, on the continent of Africa, but I've seen it in Central and South America. Those are popular destinations, as well as Asia, and of course, Europe. But what I'm starting to see more and more of is a conversation within our community that has not been the conversation for most of my life, where people were really seriously exploring living abroad. So we're seeing a pickup in business from that perspective because people want to go and see and trust the people that they're working with because they don't know, they don't know what to expect from a cultural perspective. But what they're pleasantly surprised with in many cases is that the places that they're considering are have the amenities that they're used to, and they're able to accommodate the lifestyle that they're familiar with, and oftentimes on a lower at a lower price point. Now you can go spend the same amount of money elsewhere, but for a lot of people who are looking to extend their U.S. dollars, they're finding that living abroad is a viable option for them.
Interesting, interesting. So and really it's fascinating how I'm almost I'm gonna say something that's gonna sound almost crazy is that in a way let's assume that you just hate everything about what's going on with the Trump administration. Now mind you, in this group we got diverse people, right? Some people don't participate, some people are Democrats, some are Republicans, some are independent, and I respect all of that. Me personally, I voted for Cornel West, but let's assume that you don't like Trump at all. It almost is like at the same time though, you would almost be grateful for the fact that his presence might have woken you up to realizing that you need to start doing something you should have been doing in the first place,
Oh yeah.
right? You see so many black people that are like, we got to build our own businesses. Well, you should have been doing it in the first place. We gotta get out of the country and get a passport. You should have had your passport. Like why does it take a threat? Why does it take that kind of discomfort? Why do you have to be sort of shocked into doing the things you have to do? Whereas before you were kind of like that frog sitting in the boiling water.
Yeah.
You know the story about the
Oh yeah.
frog, how you put the frog in
Uh,
the cold water, you slowly turn the heat up and he just sits there and boils to death.
yes.
But now you've been dropped into the frying pan and you're like, ah, we gotta move. Okay, so here's what I want to ask you about then on the other side of that. one of my team members flew in to do some work with me this week, and she lives in Mexico. And we were concerned because we heard that it's been harder to travel overseas because there are countries that are angry at the United States and are making it inconvenient for you to travel. I know another friend that was going to come over and visit from Europe, and they canceled their trip because they'd been hearing that Europeans were being detained at the border, things like that. Is that really happening, or is that just much ado about nothing? Maybe hype in media.
Well, I'm sure that it's happening on a micro level, but there are countries like Namibia that have put in place a visa for U.S. travelers. So there are some inconveniences. And a lot of times what it is these countries are simply trying to leverage to say, hey, listen, the U.S., you all are taking all the resources. You're funding every coup that's happening in the world. I mean, we got to do something. So the only thing we can do is make it difficult for you we got to find some leverage point. And really, that's what Trump is doing. Trump is, when he's barking, that's a leverage point. And so what he does in his negotiation strategy, he'll go into some place and say, we're going to put this tariff on it. And he may or may not have the ability to do it, but because Trump is a master of the public, he knows he's a marketer. He's a brand person. So he understands if he puts it out there, it doesn't have to be true. It could be a flat out lie, but somebody's going to run with it. And when they run with it, it's going to somehow become relevant. And so he understands if I say I'm going to put a 25% tariff on something or 50% tariff, somebody who doesn't understand his strategy is now going to spread that information, which gives him leverage. So a lot of these countries, all they can do is say, well, we're going to put a visa. The little bit of leverage that we have, this is what we're going to do. So it's a very interesting deal. And to your point a second ago, Dr. Boyce, when it came to Black folks waking up, when it came, yeah, we should have had our passports. We should have been researching options long ago. I mean, we could go back to 2008. Not being lulled to sleep to say that, okay, well, everything is all good. When in actuality, those should have been the times where we should have been building momentum for times like
Mm.
this. So we would be in a position of leverage to say, yeah, okay, you can try that. However, we can now take our dollars over here because we're in a position of ownership. We're in a position of influence because somebody else needs our resources in order to do what they need to do. So just like you're threatening to take funding away, we can threaten to take funding away. But if we're consuming and we're not investing and we're not building, then we're typically or usually in a position where we're asking someone to give us something instead of being in a position of saying no. No, no, no. Okay, well, if that's how you want to do it, well, then I'll do
Mm.
this. So it gets deep. This global economics is a deep thing, but people are waking up, and I think that's the good thing. And I'm seeing people adjust. I'm seeing conversations like this happen. I'm seeing platforms where investment is emphasized and travel is emphasized and just education overall, and they're talking about taking away education from people. I mean, how do you even, where does that even come from? Unless you're in a position of power to do it. So now what we're waking up to say, well, we have to educate ourselves, whether it be from a financial perspective, whether it be from a historical perspective. We have to take responsibility for our own education, our own finances, and our own resources. And then that will put us in a better position to leverage when these wild theories or wild proposals come out of the blue.
Well, and I do agree with you. I kind of think that it's always been interesting that there are people that still believe that education can be taken away from you, when you live in the age of the internet, you live in the age of AI. Education, you got an entire university on your phone in your pocket. You have literally the best university in the history of the world in your pocket. So when people are like, "Well, I can't," I didn't get an education because they didn't give me one. That right there really speaks to limited thinking, right? So ultimately, I think that that's concerning that some of us are still sort of stuck there. Um, and then also, man, I think a global education. I think that just going to other countries. I know I had so much fun in Egypt, and you and I talked about this before the conversation about how sometimes just getting out of the country for a while and breathing and kind of seeing uh, a different lifestyle, seeing all these other things that are happening all around the world that don't have to do with the White House, that don't have to do with our domestic issues, right? For Americans, I feel like that's especially good for Americans because I feel like we're a little self-absorbed. What do you think?
I agree 100%. Definitely self-absorbed and believing that the world revolves around the U.S. and what's going on in our world. When you step outside of the bubble, you find out that there's so much more going on outside of in the rest of the world. And most people are not even having conversations about what's happening in the U.S. Most people are focused on what's happening in their countries, focusing on what's happening in their part of the world, and it's refreshing because you can disengage from it. Because I believe some of this stuff psychologically weighs on you. If you're in this thing, that's 24-hour news cycle in the U.S. and they're manipulating stories. There's fear happening here, and there's sickness here, and there's all these different things going on. When you step outside of that, it's really therapeutic. It's kind of like, wow, okay. There is a world outside of that. The world does not revolve around what's happening in the U.S. and what the latest thing that Trump said or the latest thing that this person said, and it just gives people a chance to unplug. And I think that's what folks are looking for. They're like, listen, I'm tired. I'm tired of the same old thing. The next person is afraid over here. The next person is going through this. I need a change of pace. I need to explore what else there is in this world, and that's what I see a lot of people doing too.
Mm. Well, everybody, if you just came in, I'm speaking with Mr. Jay Cameron. He's the CEO and founder of Maximum Impact Travel. And we are taking a group trip to Ghana this summer. And if you'd like to join the B1 trip to Ghana, you can text the word travel to the number 87948. Tomorrow night, Jay's going to do a presentation to discuss what's going to happen when we get to Ghana. So make sure you get on the text list. If you're interested, text the word travel to the number 87948. Also, just as a side note, I mentioned to you all that with the economy acting crazy and the stock market being a little bit shaky, I will put together a list of bond funds you could invest in, and I'm gonna actually put that list in the chat inside the private Zoom, so you guys will see it, and also I'll text that out for those of you that come to this class every day. So just be on the lookout for that. I'll probably pop it in there while Jay's answering the next question. So Jay, all right, here's the thing, right? You tapped on something I think is really important and interesting, and I think that the therapeutic side of travel. Um, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, I don't know if anybody has gone through this, but I can tell you, I have I've taken quite a few international trips, not as many as I would have expected to, but I've taken more than most, right? To this day, there's not one single international trip I've ever taken that wasn't transformative or immemorable in some way, right? I still remember the time I worked with the Research Institute in Germany. I remember my trip to Nigeria very vividly. I remember China really clearly. I remember Egypt last year. I mean, that was amazing. I remember like every single international trip I've ever taken, it was just like, oh, you know what I mean? Like it's weird, like I was coming out of a jail cell or something. I can't explain it. Um, and I just feel like that's the opposite of what we end up getting in America, where I really feel like this obsession with the politics in particular and the political divisions and all these little petty fights, it's a mental illness.
Yes.
And you see some people get overtaken by that mental illness where they're living in constant fear. They're always angry. They're always, like, did you hear what Trump did today? Or did you see what these Democrats they did? And it's just like you going crazy. Like something's wrong with you because all you do is you're talking about this stuff and you ain't even talking about your health. You ain't talking about your kids. You ain't talking about your future. All you're talking about is some people up in Washington who don't even like black people that much. I almost feel like that's a thing. Like I think I don't know how to diagnose it, but it seems like that's a thing. Like the mental health just
Oh
seems
yeah.
to deteriorate, especially when they get us riled up about the politics.
Well, I believe it's by design because if you can control someone's actions through their mental, if you can influence them and you can control their environment, and have them focus on you, whether it be good or bad, then they're not focusing on themselves. So now they're wasting time. And by wasting time, wasting life, then life goes by. And the same thing, it becomes habitual at that point, because now it's the normal conversation, and we gravitate towards other people who talk like that and think like that. And then there we are in that same little pool of people, just kind of talking about the same old things, not really getting much done. But it's when you step outside of that, that's what I had to do. I got to a point in my life, I was like, look, I'm gonna lose my mind if I just sit here doing the same old thing, for the rest of my life. And that's when I took my trip to Ghana for the first time. And that's when I started seeing all the different things that they were not telling us the truth, or, how they were skewing the story. And then that just kind of sparked something and said, let me go check out someplace else. I heard something bad about this place, but let me go see. And then I would go and see how the people were living their life, enjoying themselves, doing the same things we were doing, as far as just living their lives. And it became refreshing, and then it became empowering. And then I was educating myself, because I was no longer in a construct that was telling me this is how you should think. This is what education is. I was now breaking the mold. And because of that, my stress level went down. It became
Mm.
therapeutic. Now when people, now you couldn't gaslight me anymore. Now I'm not sitting, you can't just tell me what I don't see is what I see, because I know what I've seen. And so when it's almost like if you put they use the analogy of when you put a chain on a dog or an elephant or something like that. And that chain is around their neck or feet for a long period of time, you can remove the chain, but the animal will stay in that same place because they have been conditioned to be in that place for so long. And then when it comes to fear, Dr. Boyce, when a lot of times in our community, when it talks about travel, when we talk about traveling abroad, it's fear. Oh, they're going to get you, and this bad thing is going to happen to you. And if you leave, somebody going to take you. You're going to get kidnapped, and your organs going to get snatched. You know what I heard over there? They're going to take this from you, and then can't see the stuff going on right in our own backyards. Can't see the drive-bys, the school shootings, the mall shootings, all the different things happening in our own neighborhood. But we're worried about what's outside. That's a condition too. And once I got past that, it was like, oh, the world. It's like now I'm in Ethiopia. I feel comfortable in Ethiopia. They told us it was sick fly babies with big bellies and sick and flies, and everybody was poor and starving. Dr. Boyce, I'm gonna tell you this: the place, I have never seen a city in my life with as much development happening as Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I counted at least 50 buildings going up last time I was here. 50 buildings. And I'm saying to myself now, if this is what poverty looks like,
Wow.
then I'm saying the cranes are everywhere. And I'm saying now, and I'm seeing the Europeans on the plane, I'm seeing the Europeans in the restaurants, I'm seeing the Asians in the restaurants. But guess who's absent? Us. Late to the
That's a
party
great.
once again. And
Mm.
and I just got tired of being late to the party. And I got tired of making excuses for being afraid. And that's what other people are waking up. They're tired of being late to the party. They're tired of missing out on opportunities. Just like when people take advantage of your stock class. They're tired of missing out on the stocks that before, at the beginning. You had to find it out later after the stock has already reached its peak. People are now discovering that they have resources and they want to invest the resources. They just need credible people to lead them on a journey, because it seems like, again, the level of mistrust that we have in our community, one towards each other, one towards others, it also creates a paralysis. And so as we're breaking that thing down, now we're starting to, and again, it takes a different kind of person to do it, somebody who's willing to take a risk. But now we're starting to see more and more people saying, I cannot do this anymore. It's affecting my physical health. It's affecting my mental health. And I really want to live the most fulfilled life I can. And that's where there are millions of people saying that they're tired of it. And that's where we
Mm.
are.
Wow. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about um the mistrust and just kind of what happens, when you're excited, you become pro-black and you say, okay, I want to participate with this business or that business, and then sometimes the shenanigans happen and you're like, oh man, here we go
Here we
again.
go again.
And one of the things I want everybody to know about why I enjoy working with you is, you have a first class operation. And Lamar Tyler, I think, was the person who mentioned you, and Lamar runs a first class operation. And I think sometimes as black men we get labeled because sometimes the most famous men in America, end up being men like Kanye West, who's out here just saying anything that comes to mind. I think he dressed up as a Klansman for his last interview,
Oh
and it
wow,
makes
I
us it
missed that
makes
one.
us look yeah, it makes us look like bozos. And I just think that we have to really sort of appreciate the fact in our community we've got a lot of really qualified, high quality professional people out here that are really building solid businesses, and we have to separate. We have to really separate all of us as black men. All of us ain't entertaining and out here just trying to get attention by being buffoons. Most of us are doing things that are very solid, reliable, consistent, and I think that's a template that needs to be explored and expressed and presented more. Because I'm getting tired of people thinking I'm a clown just because you saw that other clown over acting like a damn fool on TV. That
Absolutely,
ain't me. I don't relate to that. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. Don't I
absolutely.
don't I don't hate the guy. I feel bad for him, because I wish somebody could have talked to him about some of this stuff. But still though, it ends up if making it challenging for all of us. It's almost like what women go through. You see black women being presented in any old kind of way, like almost like if you're a black woman, you're supposed to be twerking, you're supposed to be, doing whatever the entertainers do. But if you go to Fly Nubian Money, where the ladies do their show every day, these are, real estate professionals, attorneys, medical doctors, therapists, high quality professionals. But what's interesting is that the response is not the same. There's not as much excitement about seeing a black woman who's actually got her stuff together. It's like, no, I want to see the drama queen. I want to see somebody on a balloon popping show or doing something crazy and ridiculous, right? So I think to some extent, what I really like about your business and what is not just the fact that doing business with you is great and you run a great company, but I feel like it's representing something bigger than just the business. It's really, I think, it's reminding the world that we're human, we're not all trying to be basketball players and rappers, or 50 years old living like you're still 25. Like I want to
Right.
be a grown man. I want to run a business. I want to do something good for my community. I want to lead my family to a better place. I want to support those who are doing the same. So I just want to say congrats, man, on the fact that you built this great company because nobody's doing what you're doing the way you're doing it, in my opinion. So I have a lot of respect for you for that.
Well, thank you, and I have a lot of respect for you as well. It's something that I recognize as being a grown black man is that I have a responsibility,
Mm,
and sometimes whether it be fair or unfair, it is still the responsibility that I have because I've grown up with the narratives. I've seen all of the different things that they've said about us, the low expectations, and sometimes subconsciously those low expectations can even be internalized. But once I started recognizing the potential that I had, and that's why I had to be very intentional about changing my environment because sometimes if you're in an environment that gives you um, low expectations, it's up to you to determine. If I felt that there was something more, I didn't know travel was going to be it, but I knew that there was something more to the resources, whether it be the personal resources, the intellectual resources that I had, and I also understood going into business. I've seen the shenanigans, and I know the games that people play out here, and I know the expectation once again. So when I sat down and said, "Okay, how am I going to do business?" Well, I want to make sure that I do business with integrity, and I want to make sure that I do business in a way that inspires other black men, whether it be young or old, to get into business. You don't have to be on hustle time. You don't have to be out here trying to get over on the next person. You can make it where everybody wins, just like I see in the Jewish community. I went to a school in DC called Georgetown Day for my elementary years. And I watched how they flowed and I watched how they operated. Then I went to DC public schools for a little while, and I see the lack of community in one environment and the strong community in another environment. And I said to myself, I said, this is very interesting because this is all about environment. But now, then, when I go back into my early 20s when I was a recruiter for Showtime at the Apollo, and that experience, and throwing parties and concerts and having to organize different events and create these different environments for people, and running a summer camp for 12 years and taking care of the children in our community. Now, we're particular about our children. Now, you can't, you don't mess around with Black folks' children, but to successfully have imparted into our children for 12 years, and giving them exposure to entrepreneurship and performing arts and life skills and all of those different things. Dr. Boyce, it would be out of my character to have anything else other than a business that represented us. And then the last point here is that oftentimes when it comes to Black men, our stories, especially Black men who have been on the grind, working, doing what they need to do, taking care of business, our stories are oftentimes not heard. Most people don't know how many brothers out here who are really doing it, how many brothers out here with 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, how many brothers who are not bragging about everything that they have. They're taking care of their responsibilities, empowering the community, doing what they need to do. And guess what? We might not get all of the PR that we should, because it's easy to put somebody up that's doing some nonsense, because that feeds the narrative, just like the narrative about the continent of Africa. Everybody's sick and dying and poor and corrupt. So if that's all you see, then you think the brothers are the same way. Everybody's going to jail on drugs, running around, doing all these different things, when there's a group of brothers out here that's not doing that, that's about their business. And what we're doing now, slowly but surely, that narrative is changing.
Yes, yes, yes. And speaking of changing narratives, I hope everybody got something from this discussion, and I encourage you to change your narrative. Don't nobody write your story but you. You write that story, and it has to be an original story. Don't write the same story as your mother, or the same story as your father, or the same story of your drunk ass uncle. Right? God gave you the ink pen, and you need to do all the writing in this story, because sometimes people try to write our stories for us, and I said no. I'm snatching that pen out your hand, because I'm gonna write the story for Boyce Watkins. I'm not you know this it's not going to be influenced by something that does not represent what I wanted to represent. So anyway, I want to say thank you to everybody, to Jay as well, for joining us today. And I want to let everybody know, if you want to travel with us to Ghana, a couple things you can do. Number one, text the word travel to the phone number 87948. So pick up your phone, text the word travel to 87948. Also, tomorrow night, Jay's going to do a full presentation on the trip to Ghana. It's an informational session. You can ask a million and one questions about the trip. Bring your family, bring your children, bring everybody, so you can get full information. Our trips are not just for travel for fun. They are, you're going to have a ton of fun, but you're also going to learn. We're going to explore. We're going to add some B1 elements, some Black Business School training, some economic angles as well. So it's great for the whole family. So Alicia and I will be there. And if you want to join us this summer, then this will be a time to get information on that. So text the word travel to 87948. Also, last little housekeeping item, two things. One, those of you that want to join us for the Economic Elevation Summit in Miami, May 9th and 10th, I'm inviting y'all. I'm not inviting like everybody and their mama. I'm inviting y'all. So this is the chance to get together in Miami. I'm going to text that link out to join us in Miami. Just make sure you're on the text list for this class. Text the word morning to 87948, and then you'll get that link later on today. And I'll put the link in the chat also for those of you that want to go ahead and get your ticket to Miami today. And Jay, actually, I know you're gonna we wanted you to come to Miami, but I know that the date changed and that kind of threw out the travel, but that's okay, because you will still be able to join us virtually, which is really cool. So I would say thank you, man. It's always a pleasure to see you, brother.
It's always a pleasure to see you as well. To Dr. Alicia, I said hello, and everybody at the B1 family. And hey, Janelle, somebody in the chat I actually went to high school with. So hey, what's going on, Janelle? So
From high school, are you serious?
yeah. I'm old
That's
school. I've been
crazy.
around
That's
for a
that's
while.
hilarious. I love that. I love that. Well, back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all on me.
All
Is that
on me.
like
You got
Mike
to be on some
Jones?
Mike
Like
Jones on it, bring Mike
I
Jones.
know. The girl from high school. How you doing? I saw you on TV the other. I'm playing. Not that this. I know that didn't even happen. Well, I don't know. I don't even know if that was male or female. So, but either way though. But anyway, everybody have a great day. God bless you, and we'll follow up on some other stuff with the stock market and stuff like that a little bit later. As you know, the market's been kind of acting a little crazy, but there's stuff out there. So feel free to take a look at that list of bond funds because we could be possibly going into stagflation. So if you want to protect your money, these will be assets you want to look at. So again, thank you very much, Jay, and
All
God bless
right.
you, everybody. Have a great day, and we will see you all soon. Take care now. Bye bye.
All right. See you tomorrow, everybody.